Cartoon Network has gone through some pretty distinct eras throughout its time in existence, but in just looking back to the previous decade, the 2010s, there was a lot going on. Sure, we saw Cartoon Network hit some massive highs thanks to stuff like Adventure Time and Regular Show, but there were also plenty of lows. Stuff that would make you say, what the heck am I watching, and oh my god, I need to change the channel, because sometimes things got weird, things got experimental, and I think the show we are looking at today puts the mental in experimental. 2011's The Problem Solvers, a show that visually hurts my eyes to look at for too long. Regardless of being able to see or not from prolonged exposure to this series, is there any actual substance here? Today, let's figure out just what the heck The Problem Solvers was all about, why it looks the way it does, and see if this short-lived series was more of a problem rather than a problem solver at the end of the day. First off, what's going on with this show? Well, the simple answer is we have a trio of interesting looking characters that not only live together, but also work together as problem-solving detectives of sorts. But then from that, they usually create other problems that they then have to go and solve, and you can kind of see how that formula creates the small beginning mess to massive ridiculous problem pipeline for the plots of each episode. Our three main characters are Horace, Roba, and Alfie, with Horace being like the most irregular dude out of the bunch. Like, sure, his design is still pretty odd, but he's the least odd out of the group here. He's, I guess, the de facto leader. I mean, we have his twin brother, Roba. Can't you tell from the resemblance? Well, if you can't, it's because Roba is technically part robot. He's a cyborg. Just, not as cool as this cyborg. While he technically is smart, he's too anxious and overly worried about most things to be the leader of this problem-solving trio. So that's why Horace is in charge, especially when all that's left is Alfie, who Horace has been taking care of since he found him at a young age. He's something, as the world of the show doesn't have to make any sense, and the character designs are as odd as they can be. I mean, aside from what you can point out with these two, Alfie, who the creator of the series describes as he's half dog, half man, and half anteater, and that you're kind of expected to see this 8-foot furry monster and take it at face value, I'd say you could simply describe him as the muscle of the group. He's honestly the most important character in the show because not only is he going to be doing the most stupid and chaotic things to get a laugh out of you, he's also just going to be the one who really solves the problem. Like, sure, Horace and Roba are there, but if Alfie wasn't with them, I don't think any problems are getting solved. He also loves eating, like a lot. He does that a lot in the show. He eats things. Now, with all that being established and said, is it possible that something enjoyable is going on with the show when it looks like this? Can you realistically follow along with the plots of each episode when most of the shots look like what would happen if you were to wring out a unicorn like a sponge? Will it give you migraines and possibly hurt your vision to the point you physically can't open your eyes? Well, the answer to the last question is yes. But let's take a deeper look into the show to answer the rest of those questions. Wait, how am I supposed to take a look if I can't see?
The Problem Solvers.
The Problem Solvers.
The Problem Solvers was created by a guy named Ben Jones, an artist who found his love for messing with digital art growing up and fully got to explore that during his time at Massachusetts College of Art and Design. Thanks to his dad getting into computers as a software engineer and bringing home technology of the time, Ben was able to play around with the first Macintosh computer and discover that love at a young age. We had the first Macintosh in the house, and I'm using a Macintosh now to make a TV show. Life be cyclical like that sometimes. Then it was actually during his time in college where he originally would design and come up with the characters of Alfie, Roba, and Horace, bringing them along from their inception in the mid-90s to the art that he would create with the art collective he helped start up called Paper Rad in the year 2000. They were focused on making weird and vivid lo-fi art called Dogman 99 that was made with no Wacom tablet, no scanning, pure RGB colors only fake tweening, and as many alpha tricks as possible. And from there would also incorporate the use of digitized pixelated sounds and voices to truly create this aesthetic. And continuing on from that, these characters would find their way into a short called Alfie, Gone Cabin Crazy that Paper Rad would produce and be released in 2006 as a part of their psychedelic lo-fi DVD titled Trash Talking. And oh boy, this hour-long DVD might just send you into a different dimension with everything going on from the visuals to the sound design, and if anything, it lays out exactly what you'd come to find when the Problem Solvers Solverz would become its own thing. To get to that point though, it wouldn't be until after another short they produced in 2007 simply called Problem Solverz, here with an S, not a Z, as it wouldn't feature his created characters, but it would feature the initial concept of solving problems that, when combined with the short before, would give them the base concept for what the Problem Solverz, this time with a Z and not an S, would be. In the same year of 2007, a pilot episode of what the show could be was made, featuring the characters of Alfei, Roba, and Horace trying to get rid of a massive singular rollerblade that's in their yard. But here's the thing. Turn a little to your left. Oh. Thank you. Sorry about that. But here's the thing. The show wasn't made to be originally pitched to Cartoon Network. It instead was pitched as something for older audiences for Adult Swim. After already having connections in the animation space thanks to Ben having done some animation work for both Yo Gabba Gabba and Wonder Chosen, it wasn't the hardest leap for him to get into contact with an executive at Adult Swim, having an idea for a series to create for the network, and having the Talking Trash DVD as a visual backup for what this could become. This all led to the chance of Ben creating a pilot for the series titled Neon Gnome, Gnome spelled with a K at the front, because why not? With it all being finished in 2007, but it wouldn't be seen until it released directly onto Adult Swim's website in early 2010 during a Burger King sponsored contest that pit a bunch of pilots against one another, with fans voting on which one can have the chance to maybe become a full-on show. Regardless of all this though, Neon Gnome was well liked by Adult Swim, but they just didn't know what to do with this gnome. It wasn't the right fit for Adult Swim in their eyes because of the visuals and contents within the overall concept, so instead of just doing nothing with it, they pointed Ben to another side of the same network, that being Cartoon Network, allowing for the chance for some things to be retooled and changed to fit what would be allowed on the network, and with the agreement that he can specifically involve the character of Alfei in the series as his one main request, Ben's original idea with his original characters was officially going to happen with Cartoon Network. And from here, with the series going into full production, it really turned into quite the interesting meshing of both talent behind the scenes and the use of Flash on Apple computers. You know, things are different here when writing an episode could take longer than it would be to animate an episode. While drafting, writing, and finalizing scripts could take several months, the animation would usually only take about a few weeks. Working on this project, aside from Ben, would be names from all over the animation industry that had other ties to Cartoon Network properties, with people like Eric Pringle and Greg Miller, names you'd see from shows like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and Whatever Happened to Robot Jones, with Eric being a crucial member of helping to bring the animation style to life, as he brought over other animators who worked on Foster's to help establish a 15-person team or so that knew how to properly use and play with Flash to create the look of the show. This is a great project for Pringle and all the other animators because it's the first animation that doesn't fight with the digital process, but actually just plays to its strengths. And there, I think you see how the show does look crazy, but to me, it looks like a celebration of what's possible with computer graphics. From start to finish, the whole animation process would be done all in Flash, from the initial sketches and ideas to a fully ready-to-release product. The idea and the art and the computer are one whole process. Flash is now as natural as a pencil. We're not translating our ideas to Flash, we have Flash open on our computers and big Wacom tablets. We're drawing right into Flash, coloring in Flash, animating in Flash. There was a distinct look and feel that Ben and the others around him were trying to curate for this series, with Ben saying, "A lot of the work I do and my generation does uses the visual language of video games. Bright colors, neons, that was the language we grew up with in the 80s. Continuing on to say, my generation grew up with video games or neon BMX bikes or crazy hip-hop clothes, and now we're seeing with all these shows this new visual language that reverse engineers it. I think that's just the natural extension of the modern visual language." When it comes to other parts of the production, Ben would end up voicing both Alfei and Roba, while Kyle Kaplan would voice Horace. But another practically main character of the show is Tux Dog, who is just kind of there and helps fund everything the Problem Solvers are up to. He's voiced by John DiMaggio, and honestly, so many other side characters and even the narrator is as well. But what's really cool about this character specifically is that it's another one that Ben originally designed way back before he was ever animated. Even further back than his main trio, as he created Tux Dog all the way back when he he was in elementary school, which is pretty cool to say the least. Imagine one of the doodles that you were making back in the day when you were a little kid can become a part of an actual cartoon one day. And not just any cartoon, your own cartoon. For what it's worth, the series does look like something that I've never seen before that has all of these things that I am familiar with baked into it. I can look at these backgrounds and flashing colors and vividly remember the early 2000s websites that feel like this, especially when it comes to things like customizing stuff on your profile page like you're playing Gaia Online or something. There is this allure to it. I get why Ben and the others at Paper Rat and those who worked on this series wanted to play in this visually messy playground. But is it too much? Does it overshadow what the show has to offer in terms of writing? It very well may have. But if you strip away all that, is the substance of the show that's left able to stand on its own as something enjoyable or entertaining? Maybe not. Well, the series would ultimately last for 18 11-minute segments that would make up its season 1 run from April of 2011 until September of that year. And now while a season 2 was in the works, it wouldn't ever see the light of day on Cartoon Network as season 1 wouldn't be received all too well by the viewers, and especially by the critics, being heavily panned for, well, you could probably guess the list of reasons, but mainly for the visuals and it not connecting with the viewership of the network. But what are they to do with the handful of episodes they created to make this second season? Easy. Just give them to Netflix. 2 years later.
Anew the Problem Solvers.
The Problem Solvers.
The Problem Solvers, or alternatively, how I learned to stop being able to see and only hear the voice of John DiMaggio since he voices a majority of the side characters in the series, was a weird experience all around. If there ever was a time to legitimately call something weird, it sure is this. When all is said and done, the series really isn't anything too offensive, at least when it comes to the content within it, like the storytelling, plots, and how everything gets wrapped up each episode. What is offensive is the visuals. Look, I am all for experimenting with art styles, wanting to create something new and not truly experienced before. And that's why I think a show like this worked really great as a pilot or a small web series or a one-off idea. Because too much of, well, all of this really, and I mean this in the most literal way, really is painful to sit through. Sure, you probably are supposed to watch this one episode at a time, but to that I'd say, well, the second season was just plopped onto Netflix all at once to feed the binge model that was starting to become popular and become a thing in the early to mid 2010s. It was primed for a binge watch. And because of this, I still can't open my eyes. I don't even know if I'm facing the camera. You're not. I do truly love that Ben got to create something so tied into what he loved doing with his art. It's impressive in the fact that there is so much going on and that you can look anywhere on the screen and find something new to catch your attention. That's not even including the speed at which it took to create all of this through Flash, RIP by the way. While the Problem Solvers wouldn't become something massive or well-liked by many, Ben would continue on in the animation space, being a part of many different smaller creative outlets, whether he was working on the production to some capacity, being a creative director, continuing his voice acting, and even fully creating several other ideas. Most recently, he co-created a Netflix show called Saturday Morning All-Star Hits in 2021, and then in 2023, he was an executive producer on Hulu's Koala Man. Both series lasted 8 episodes. I would love to see where Ben continues to go from here. I want to see him and his collaborators still mess with art styles, concepts, and all-around weird ideas to create something entirely new, whether it's for me or not. I'd rather someone try something new and it not work rather than not create at all, or just end up creating something that they think people would want rather than what they want. When it comes to the show itself, I don't think it's fully structured enough to really have something to hook you in to keep pulling you back. Maybe the visual aspect of the show was supposed to do that, but it really isn't something that worked for me and instead becomes a turnoff from wanting to keep watching. On the other side of things, when the show is in its smaller second season, the backgrounds and colors are toned down quite a bit, but even then, you're left with a pretty experience. The visual aspects of the show that were supposed to be a part of the draw aren't there, and the interesting characters and plots aren't there. So you're left with nothing all that special that quickly turns into forgettable, unfortunately. The show may be remembered for its distinct look in hindsight, the vivid colors, everything has to be moving, but all of the other stuff that makes a show really can't be felt here, and sadly, it's just forgettable. It's not so bad that it's fun to explore just how bad it is, and it's nothing great great to champion others to go and check out. It's the perfect definition of mid. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go get my eyesight back. And there's only one thing that can help me now. The Nutty Professor and the Nutty Professor 2 The Clumps on HD DVD. It's the only right way to watch them. Whew! Oh, alright, there we go. That's a lot better. Thank you, Eddie Murphy and Dead Media Formats. Y'all are the true heroes. Anyway, I got some backflips to go practice. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Or not. Later!